Alright, today we are doing polynomials. This topic is not new to you. You have learned polynomials in the previous class. Now let us quickly recall what all things we have learned in the previous class. The first thing we have learned is polynomials. What are polynomials and what are not polynomials? Now suppose you have a term like 2x square plus 5x plus any number 7 equals to 0. Now we can say whether it is a polynomial or not a polynomial by looking at the powers of the variable. Now here you have x square, here you have x to the power 1. If you have negative power or if you have fraction, then we can say it is not a polynomial. That means the power has to be a whole number. Power should be a whole number. Now power of the variable, okay, and not of the number. This number can have minus 7 as its power. This number can have minus 3 as its power. But these variables should not have negative or fractions as the power. These should be whole numbers. Now the next thing is, you have learned what are variables. Then we also learned what are constant. Variable means x square, x is the variable here. Constant means the constant term, the number without any variable is called the constant term. Next, coefficient. Coefficient means the number with the variable. If I say what is the coefficient of x square, you have to say the coefficient of x square is 2. If I say what is the coefficient of x, the coefficient of x is 5. Then the next thing is degree. Degree means the greatest power. What is the degree of this polynomial? The degree of this polynomial is 2. If I have, suppose here, 5x to the power 4 or to the power 3 minus 2x to the power 2. Here what is the degree? The degree is 3. The greatest power is called the degree. Then after degree, the next thing, linear equation. Linear, quadratic, cubic. Quadratic, cubic. Linear means power 1. Quadratic means an equation with power 2. The greatest power should be 2. Cubic means this equation. This equation is a cubic equation. Now if I remove the first part, this becomes a linear equation or a linear polynomial. Then if I bring up this one, then it becomes a quadratic polynomial. And if I write this, it becomes a cubic polynomial. Then the next thing is zeros. Zeros, or we can also say root of a polynomial. Here, mostly we will be learning about roots and zeros of quadratic polynomial. Now, zeros of quadratic polynomial or zeros of a polynomial. Zeros of a polynomial means the value of x. Suppose I take the value of x here as 2 and after solving the answer becomes 0, then 2 is the 0 of this quadratic polynomial. If I take these values of x as 9 and I get the answer as 0, then we say 9 is the 0 of this quadratic polynomial. So zeros of a quadratic polynomial means the value of x. You can write it here. Zeros or roots of a polynomial is the value of x which makes the polynomial equal to 0. Equal to 0. Now, if it is a quadratic polynomial, then there will be two zeros. If the power is 2 or degree 2, it is a quadratic polynomial, there will be two zeros. If it is of power 3 or a cubic polynomial, there will be 3 zeros. Similarly, if it is of power 4 or degree 4, before this if I have plus say 6x to the power 4, then there will be 4 zeros because it is of degree 4. Now let us find out the zeros of a quadratic polynomial. Suppose the quadratic polynomial is x square minus 10x plus 21 equals to 0. You already know how to find zeros of this quadratic polynomial. Now we take this as the sum and the first number multiplied with the last number becomes the product. This we have learned earlier, splitting the middle term, finding the zeros by splitting the middle term. Here we have 1. 1 into 21 will give you 21 and here we have minus 10. So sum is minus 10 and product is 21. Now we have to take two numbers, the product of which should be 21 and the sum of which should be minus 10. Now 21 comes in the table of 7. 7 3s are 21 and 7 and 3 will give you 10. But in order to get minus 10, we have to take both the numbers as minus. Now if we take both the numbers minus here, we have to take both the numbers minus here as well. Minus 7 and minus 3 will give you 21 if we multiply, and after adding we get minus 10. So these are the numbers. Now to solve this, we write the first number as it is x square. We always take plus, even if it is minus we take plus because minus we have taken here. The two numbers are minus 7 and minus 3. So minus 7 minus 3, we close the bracket, we write down this x here plus and 21 here equals to 0. Now we remove the bracket, we write x square minus 7x minus 3x plus 21 equals to 0. Now we see what can be taken common between the first two number and between the second two number. Between the first two number we can take only x as common. If we take x, we have x minus 7, and among these two if we take minus 3, then we have x minus 7 equals to 0. Now inside the bracket there should be same. We write it once, x minus 7, and the outside thing we also put it in another bracket, which is x minus 3 equals to 0. So we have x minus 7 is equal to 0 and x minus 3 is also equals to 0. Only x will be equal to 7 comes this side becomes positive 7. Only x is equal to minus 3 comes this side becomes positive 3. So therefore the zeros are 7 and 3. Now here we will not only find out the zeros, but we will find out the relationship. Next thing is relationship. Let's see what is relationship. Now the next thing is relationship between the zeros and the coefficient. Now suppose you have a quadratic equation like ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Then after finding out the zeros, here what are the zeros we did not calculate, so let me take it as alpha and beta. Let alpha and beta be the zeros. So alpha and beta I have taken as the zeros. So here sum will be equal to minus b by a and product will be equals to c by a. Always the sum will be equal to minus b by a and product will be equals to c by a. What is b here? You see b is the coefficient of x. So minus is there, b is coefficient of x by a is the coefficient of x square, coefficient of x square. Now next thing, product. In product we have c by a. What is c? C is the constant term by a. A is the coefficient of x, coefficient of x square. So whenever we sum up, add up the zeros, the two zeros here are alpha and beta. So if we add up alpha and beta, we will get minus b by a, and if we multiply alpha and beta, we will get c by a. This is called the relationship between the zeros and the coefficient. Now let us solve a question to understand this relationship better. Suppose the question is 2x square minus 5x minus 18 is equal to 0. Suppose this is the question. Now first of all we need to find out the zeros of this quadratic polynomial. To find out the zeros, again we will follow the same method, splitting the middle term. This is the sum and this number multiplied with this number gives you the product. So here we have sum as minus 5 and product as 2 into 8 minus 18, 36 minus 36. Now we have to take two numbers and after adding them we should get minus 5. The same numbers after multiplying we should get minus 36. Now 36 comes in the table of 9. 9, 4 are 36. We can take 9 and 4 and get 5. To get minus 5, 9 has to be minus. 9 has to be minus. Minus 9 into 4 will give you minus 36. 9 minus 9 plus 4 will give minus 5. So these two are the numbers. Now we proceed by writing this as 2x square. We always take plus, even if it is minus we take plus because minus we have taken here. Now the two numbers we shall write here. Then x minus 18 equals to 0. The two numbers are minus 9 and 4. Minus 9 plus 4. Now remove the bracket. This 2x square minus 9x plus 4x minus 18 equals to 0. Now common between the first two number and common between the second two. Here we have only x is common. If we take x, we have 2x minus 9. And here we have 2 common. If we take 2, we will get 2x minus 9 equals to 0. Now inside the bracket they should be always same. They are same, so we can write it down as 2x minus 9 in one bracket, and the outside thing we shall put it in another bracket, which is x plus 2 equals to 0. So we have 2x minus 9 equals to 0, and we have x plus 2 equals to 0. We have this is equal to 0 and this is also equals to 0. If we find out x here, it becomes 9 by 2, and if we find out x here, it becomes minus 2. These two are the zeros. The zeros are 9 by 2 and 2. These two are the zeros. Now we have to find out the relationship or verify the relationship. Verification. Now sum and product. Sum should be minus coefficient of x by coefficient of x square, and product should be constant by coefficient of x square. This is the relationship between the zeros and the coefficient. You need to memorize this. Now here we take the sum. We have calculated the zeros. The two zeros are 9 by 2 and 2 minus 2, sorry. So sum means add up both. We have 9 by 2 plus the other one is minus 2. If we add up this, we should get the coefficient of x and coefficient of x square. You see the question here. The coefficient of x minus this minus is here, then coefficient of x is minus 5 again, divided by coefficient of x square. Coefficient of x square is 2. Then come to product. Let me divide this. The product here is the product of these two. 9 by 2 multiplied with minus 2 equals to, we should get the constant term divided by the coefficient of x. The constant term here, the constant term is minus 18, and the coefficient of x square is 2. Now furthermore, if we solve this, we have to take LCM. LCM is 2. This becomes 9 plus minus will be minus 2 2s are 4 equals to minus will make it plus 5 by 2. Now 9 minus 4 will make it 5 by 2 equals to 5 by 2. We have LHS equals to RHS. Now this part, if we solve, 2 and 2 can be cancelled. 2 ones are 2. 9 into minus 1 is minus 9 equals to, this can be cancelled. 2 ones are 2. 2 9s are 18. We get minus 9. So here also LHS is equal to RHS. So verified. The relationship is verified. Furthermore, let's see one more question. Suppose the question is, say t square minus 15 equals to 0. Now first we need to find out the zeros. This is a quadratic polynomial. We can write t square is equal to, this 15 comes this side, becomes negative, becomes positive 15. Now this square, if we send it to the other side, it comes as root over 15. Now one more thing we need to see. It can be positive 15 or negative 15. Negative 15 into negative 15 also gives you the same answer as positive 15 into positive 15. Now we have to take it as either t is equal to root over 15 or t is equal to minus root over 15. It can be either positive or negative. These two are the zeros. Since it is a quadratic polynomial, it will have two zeros. One is just root over 15 positive and the other one is minus root over 15. Now we got the zeros. The zeros are root over 15 and minus root over 15. Now we shall verify. Verify the relationship. First is sum equals to minus, we should get coefficient of x by coefficient of x square, and product should be always equal to constant term divided by coefficient of x square. Now sum of the zeros, the two zeros are root over 15 and minus root over 15. So sum root over 15 plus minus root over 15 equals to coefficient of x. Now what is the coefficient of x here? Do we have x here? Do we have x here? Let me call it as t. Since this question is of t, we have to write it as t. Do we have t here? No, we don't have t. So the coefficient of t is 0 by coefficient of t square. Coefficient of t square is 1. So 0 by 1. Now if we solve this, root over 15 and minus root over 15 will give you 0. So this side we have 0 equals to 0. LHS equals to RHS. Now coming to product, we need to multiply this root over 15 into minus root over 15 equals to constant term. What is the constant term here? The constant term is 15. So 15 by coefficient of t square. Coefficient of t square. Here I said x and x square because most of the question is to be x. Here we have t, so we have to write it as t square. Now coefficient of t square is 1. Now if we multiply 15 and 15, root over 15 into root over 15 will give you 15. Minus is there, so minus equals to minus 15. Now if we get confused with this, we can also write it as minus root over 15 square. 15 into 15 will give you 15 square. Root over 15 will give you root over 15 square. Square and root over can be cancelled and we get minus 15, which is equal to minus 15. So here also we got LHS equals to RHS, so verified. Alright, the next thing is formation of quadratic polynomial. Formation. How a quadratic equation is formed. Now, for forming a quadratic equation, we know the general form. The general form of a quadratic equation is x square minus sum x plus product. Now, if this is the general form. Now, if we have sum as 4 and product as 1, then we can easily form the quadratic polynomial using the sum and the product. So the quadratic polynomial will be x square minus sum x plus product equals to 0. So we can write this as x square minus, what is the sum given? The sum given is 4. X will remain as x, plus will remain as plus. The product given here is 1 equals to 0. This is the general form. Now suppose instead of giving you the sum and the product, they have given you the zeros. Zeros are, suppose the zeros are given as 1 by 3 and 4. Then how to form the quadratic equation using these two zeros? Now first of all, using the zeros, we will find out the sum and we will find out the product. The sum we can find out by adding the zeros. It will be 1 by 3 plus 4, and product we can find out by multiplying the zeros. 1 by 3 multiplied by 4. Now if we add up this, LCM will be 3. This becomes 1 plus 4 3s are 12. 12 plus 1 will give you 13 by 3. And here we simply multiply 1 4s are 4 by 3. This is the sum and this is the product. Now we can form the quadratic polynomial. It is in the form of x square minus sum x plus product equals to 0. This is the general form. Now replace the value. X square will remain as x square minus sum. What is the sum given here? The sum is 13 by 3. X will remain as x plus product 4 by 3 equals to 0. Now in order to solve this, simplify this, we have to take LCM. LCM for all the numbers can be taken as 3. Now before it was 1, we made it 3, means we multiplied it with 3. Upside we have to multiply with 3. It becomes 3x square minus 13x plus 4 equals to 0. Now this 3 we can send it to the other side. It will go there as multiply since it is divide here. It will become 3x square minus 13x plus 4 equals to 3 into 0 will give you 0. So this is the required quadratic polynomial which we formed with the zeros given, and if sum is given and product is given, we can directly put up the sum and the product and get the zeros just like this question.